the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body. If he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how it started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King saying, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepping to the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God done smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. Yeah. One more time. I want to say it real slow. I'll say God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Pick it up. God has smiled on me. Yeah. I feel it. Then I went on by backstage at the Apollo Theater and I saw a man come out. They call him the King of Soul, James Brown. And James Brown said, Reverend, don't you worry. I started out as a shoe shine boy. I started out as a convict. I started out uneducated. But I learned to sing my song. And I sung it all over the world. I told him it was a man's world. I told him about the big payback. I told him Papa got a brand new bag. And all over the world, they can hear my voice. But Reverend, don't you frown. Don't you bow your head. Tell him what you told me, Brother Brown. When I God has smiled on me, he has set me free. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to scream, y'all. I want to scream, y'all. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. It's Monday, August the 4th. Do you know what time it is? It's Sharpton's time. And for the next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country. And good morning to our West Coast listeners. Welcome to those listening on Sirius XM, Channel 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York. For the next 3 hours, it is Hot Button Monday. Hot Button Monday, you can call in and talk about whatever's on your mind, whatever's in your heart, things that may have occurred over the weekend and you found it something that was
worthy of your comment, your thoughts, your participation, your critiques. All you have to do is call us at 1-877-532-5797, or you can go to our website and go on live stream. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and go to live stream, and you can go to the message board and put up a message, and I will read as many of them as I can on the air. And there already some up. Janet overall says, good afternoon, everyone. Have a good day. Joanne, is that Joanne Hopkins? Says, good afternoon, Reverend Al Sharpton. All right, good afternoon to you. And we're loading up the calls, 1-877-532-5797. And Georgia Daniel says, good afternoon, Reverend Sharpton. I keeping it real from Toledo, Ohio. All right, Toledo, no justice, no peace. Ready for the march, she says. Well, we ready for you, too. We're excited about the march. Let me say, a lot happened over the weekend that certainly we need to discuss. I'm sure many of you saw that after there was this very disappointing jobs numbers released on Friday, that President Donald Trump fired the federal employee that is in charge of releasing the numbers. Now, the numbers were so bad that he fired the woman. It's like back in early history of man, that whoever you bring me bad news, the king's going to execute you. Now, the numbers are from the data. The lady doesn't make up the numbers. It was from the data. And I could see why I was disappointed. It was only 73,000 jobs made. And I see Cassandra from Houston, Texas. She's writing in. Thank you for being here. This is Pat Lewis, also from Seattle, Washington. She's with us. Now, black unemployment in this Bureau of Labor Statistics said black unemployment went up to 7.2%, the highest it's been since before the pandemic. So I raised a question on my television show this weekend. I raised it at National Action Network Saturday Rally, that Trump said to blacks that you should be for me deporting people even if they're not criminals, even if I'm tearing up families, because they're taking your black jobs. He has deported how many thousands of people already? And black unemployment went up. Why didn't black unemployment go down? Because we can now go back and get our black jobs. Where's my black job, Donald Trump? Oh, maybe that was never a black job. The stuff they were doing was not stuff that we were employed to do anyway. Nonsense. Let's talk about that. Him firing a federal employee for telling him what the data showed, that his economic programs are in the toilet. We also see that Texas Democrats are decamping in Illinois to deny Republicans a quorum. Now, they're trying to reconfigure the congressional districts in Texas to eliminate 5 Democratic seats. This would be their way, they think, of edging out the Democrats to maintain the House of Representatives next year. Because if the Democrats take the House, Hakeem Jeffries is the Speaker, and then could block much of the legislative agenda of Donald Trump in his last 2 years. So they're trying every trick in the book to turn these districts Republican, and they'll be doing it in other parts of the country. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, and others are saying if they do that, then they're going to redraw the lines in their states to cost them some Republican seats. So this is about time the Republicans show some fight back, some call your bluff, Trump. The way they can handle this is denying the vote by not giving them a quorum. So the Texas Democrats have gone to Illinois so they can't call a vote because they don't have a quorum. That's the rationale. Also, Governor Newsom and Governor Hochul in New York said that they will convene their legislatures to do the same precedent they do in California, which will cut out some Republican seats. Also, you see that many Jewish voters are backing Mamdani, and many agree with him on Gaza. Very interesting. If I had taken that in the Jewish community, I wouldn't have guessed that one. A lot is happening, and I need and want very much for you to weigh in. I think as I was watching the events of the weekend, as I was doing my show in between show and radio and TV shows over the weekend, try to consume as much of the news as I can so I can inform people and have a learned opinion, not a guessed opinion. And I'm telling you that we are in a very precarious position. This president is anti-black, his policies anti-black. But what puts us in a worse precarious position than I've witnessed in a long time is that we're accepting being in that position. We're laying back, lounging, like we're on a lounging chair at the beach, lounging amongst this kind of justice denied, this kind of institutional neglect, this kind of organizational disassemble. That's what Donald Trump is doing. He's playing us into our despair rather than our saying, we've seen guys like you before, tougher than you. We didn't bow in as fathers, and we ain't gonna bow down now as you two brothers. I want you to work with us this weekend and this week to taste where we are, where we need to go. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. This Hot Button Monday. One of the things that is very important to me is that we stay on top of the issues because they impact our lives. And it is imperative we do that. All right, let me read one comment or two. Versi Green says, I know something has to be done on the physical side. Nevertheless, God is not asleep. Sometimes he allows things for people to not forget he is in charge. Trump might be getting away right now, but won't get away. A lot of blacks are supporting him and what he is doing. There needs to be some balance somewhere. And I think that, well, I certainly believe God is in charge. And I spoke at the Saturday rally saying sometimes God will raise up a Goliath so he can raise up a David. And that I talked about the children of Israel leaving Egypt, got to the Red Sea and turned on Moses because they said, you brought us out here to drown. And God said to Moses, don't worry about that. This ain't the devil, this is me showing my power. And that's when he told Moses to stretch out his rod and the waters divided and dry land in the middle of the Red Sea. Sometimes you need some adversity so God can graduate you to the next level. The question is, are we all going to answer this? Or are we going to sit by and watch wickedness just go by? Let's take a break. I'm going to open up the phones. Hot Button Monday, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton, keeping it real. Be right back. Stop going through your life like you are a co-star or a bit player in your own drama. No, you are the main star. You're the central figure in your life. What you decide is what is the major thrust of your life. And others may contribute, impact, affect, but it's your life that you're central in. So stop trying to lay the weight of what you do or don't do on others. That weight is squarely on your shoulders and in your hand. And if you want to defer and give your life choices to others, that's on you. If they have any sense at all, they will be so busy trying to conduct and properly guide their life, they will not have time to try to major in your life.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you're very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
Racial discord, a blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
and I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing. And I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, the Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old, with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
I had a thought this morning that I want to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors, but there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones, who became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talent in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me for the other things. They'll come and help me once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. and they were not going to impose themselves on them. Why am I saying that? Because too many mentors want clones, and too many mentees want their mentors to put them on a pedestal. Oh, so-and-so didn't do this for me. Oh, so-and-so didn't open doors for me. If they got to open doors for you, it may mean that they knew you weren't ready to go through those doors. Their job is to prepare you. Your job is to develop your own skills, your own unique ways. And I don't care if it's my daughters, who both have come into their own, or anyone else. I'm not a talent agent. I did not form National Action Network to give people their step up. I formed it to fight for justice for everybody. If talented people get in, it's real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, twitter.com, The Rev Al, twitter.com, The Rev Al. Don't forget, every Saturday and Sunday, watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MSNBC. Every Saturday and Sunday, and if you watched this weekend, you watched and got a lot. We had on, of course, former Attorney General Eric Holder talking about the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act is this Wednesday, and that they are trying to take the last vestiges of the Voting Rights Act. We're going to talk a lot about that this week. We had him on. We had the Attorney General of Nevada. We had the chairman of the Democratic Party on. We had the son of Berry Gordy, the music mogul, and the granddaughter of Ed Sullivan about this new Netflix they have out about how blacks couldn't get on television, and one of the first would put them on was Ed Sullivan. If you miss any night, Saturdays and Sundays, you missing something. We take a lot of effort to give you the best that we can give you. Also, you that are in the New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut vicinity, the Saturday Action rallies are heating up. A lot of people coming out, getting inspired, a lot of people tuning in. Every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the House of Justice in Harlem, 145th Street and 7th, between 7th and 8th, 145th and 8th Avenue. For you that are not in the New York area, you can watch it live on Impact Television. And, of course, the rallies are 9 to 11. But what I'm getting even growing excitement about is the March on Wall Street. I'm hearing the buzz picking up everywhere. People understand that there's not been a black-led march since Trump has gotten in again. We are a little over 6 months. We are suffering from record unemployment, student loan debt, cuts to Medicaid, cuts to SNAP, and the ones that are profiting, they're getting a bigger tax cut on Wall Street. So rather than our August 28th every year, we go to Washington every several years with a big commemoration. We're going to Wall Street. Dr. King's dream is being undermined, and the financing of the undermining and the recipients of it are on Wall Street. So Martin Luther King III and Andrea King is joining National Action Network and myself and other civil rights groups and unions marching on Wall Street August 28th, Thursday morning, 10 o'clock, starting at the African Burial Ground. You can go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and you can get further information. Sign up and we'll send you all the information you want. We give updates often. In fact, tonight we're having a national clergy call, ministers around the country, energizing, organizing, and working toward this march. August 28th, 55, they killed Emmett Till in Mississippi. August 28th, 63 was the March on Washington, where Dr. King gave the speech known in history as I Have a Dream. August 28th, 25, under the era of Trump, you need to be able to tell your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, I was there standing up against the cuts to SNAP. I was there standing up against the cuts to Medicaid. I was there standing up against them stopping DEI. I was there. I not only read history, I participated. All right, let's go to the phones. Let's go to Philly to Brian. Brian at WURD, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
It's always nothing but a blessing to speak to you, Rev, from here, home of one of the most important radio stations in the country, WURD. So it's an honor, as always. And Rev, I want to thank you for always standing tall for democracy and being the spiritual compass that the world needs right now. I have three quick things I would treasure your commentary on regarding the March on Wall Street on August 28th, which you just talked about. I would like to see it go national, but I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I've tried to get Indivisible and Ezra Levin to help spread the word, but they have not apparently been interested or seen my replies to them on Blue Sky. I find that a little surprising, and I'm wondering, should groups like Indivisible be aligned with NAN's mission to protect DEI and economic justice? Do you have any relationship with them, and how can we build better solidarity here if you think it's merited or worthy?
I think we need solidarity with all forces. When they did No More Kings March, we supported it. I supported it on media. I sent some of our chapters. I believe some of the union leaders, Randy Weingarten and others, have said to them they need to support it. I've not heard any follow-up. I'm glad you called. I'm going to follow up now because we all need to be supporting each other, and I think that is imperative. So you keep sending on websites saying we need to support it. We cannot get down to black issues and progressives are not there.
Amen, Rev. Thank you so much. I only know Ezra Levin from TV, and I have seen him support some potential candidates in namely Kat Abu Ghazala, a young woman running in Illinois. And I find her campaign a little bit concerning given her associations with what I believe to be the anti-black wing of the progressive movement. And so on that, turning to, and so that's my concern about him. I don't know if he's hearing you. Of course, I'm not black, but I'm doing my best to be a conscious ally, since my Jesus is MLK Jesus, and you're the most important voice, I think, on matters of morality right now. So anyway, moving on from that, I just would like to ask you, secondly, before I ask my final question, about Zoran Mamdani. The only silver lining I have seen in his campaign really is that he seems to want your blessing. But as Mara Gay wrote in the New York Times last week, progressives must listen to black voters. So the issue for me, and from the many wise, brilliant people that call into your show and who I am honored to follow on social media, mostly black Democrats, is that Gaza isn't the issue with Mamdani. The issue is the anti-Biden, anti-Harris, anti-Black Caucus energy coming from DSA, which of course he does everything he can to promote. And I would love to see you as the bridge that helps Mamdani show respect for MVP Harris, especially given what Trump and Bibi have done in their horrifying access to Gaza. So I would like to hear from you how your meeting, I believe it was your third meeting with Mamdani last week, went, and if you would like to share anything about what y'all talked about.
Well, we talked about, first of all, We talked about Mandami's going to support the march down Wall Street. We talked about his positions. Hold on a minute. Let's do it after the break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real, keeping it real. Sharpton, be right back.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They called me everything but a child of God.
Racial discord, a blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I
a race
had to
baiter.
learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing. And I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, He was about 12. Wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend. Earl the Pearl, Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old, with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
country talking to the radio announcers, the church people and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body, if he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. He didn't forget about the brothers and sisters.
Let's go back to the phone. Is Brian still with us?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yes, sir. Rev, are you still there?
Yes.
Oh, thank you, sir. So I was just asking you about your conversation with Mom Donnie, and you were about to tell me, and then I just had one more thing I wanted to ask.
Yeah, and we talked about the march. We talked about his platform. We talked about how he is going to organize, and he's seeking certainly all of our support. I told him that I was talking to those that organize politically, and many of them leaning toward that, and that we would have a final decision by Labor Day. And he said that it helped him a lot when he came to National Action Network twice. He came to he came 3 times. One, we didn't know he was there. He was there Christmas Day helping us to feed the homeless, and we didn't even know who he was. And then he came the Saturday before the primary, and then he won, and he called and said, could I come back and thank the people? So he's been very impressive, and we'll know officially by Labor Day where we're going.
Bless you, sir. Bless you. I trust him the more I see him with you. Again, my concern is DSA and his refusal to support MVP Harris. And as I said, I pray that you are the bridge that connects the two of them, and, forces him, I don't want to say forces, but makes him maybe reflect on how much better the world would be right now had we delivered the White House to Kamala Harris instead of going with Rashida Tlaib and the anti-Harris, anti-Biden chaos agents, which unfortunately he was aligned with. I hope he's changing. Rev, I want to add, I'm very active, unfortunately, too active on social media, and I see a very troubling pattern with Mom Donnie's largest, most, I'd say, loudest cheerleaders. Their sentiments are identical to those notoriously vile Bernie bros that we all have seen throughout the 2016 and 2020 campaigns. And I would greatly appreciate Mom Donnie understanding that we are in an information war and separating himself from some of his most toxic supporters on social media. And also I'd like to comment that his biggest cheerleaders have issued very insulting threats to New York's Black and Jewish representatives who have yet to endorse him, from Schumer and Dan Goldman to Hakeem Jeffries, Yvette Clarke, Gregory Meeks, and Richie Torres. And I personally, it makes my skin crawl when I see it. And that brings me to my last.
I share, and then I'll let you go to your last point. I share your concerns and said that to him because people, first of all, should not feel that they have the right to intimidate people into supporting whoever they want to support, because the fear then is that if they get in, we're in fact electing our version of Donald Trump, where you can't question
100
nobody. We're not looking for a better autocrat. We're looking for a better Democrat or democratic principles. That's one. Secondly, coming up from street activism and black church-based activism like I did, the more you threaten, the less I'm going to do. Because my thing is, well, come on through with your threat then, because that's not how you approach thinking people that have their own solid grounding. And I think that it is a detriment to him, not an assistance to him.
Rev, you said it better than I can, so I thank you for that. And again, I said, when I see him sitting next to you, I trust him more, only because I know that you will hold anyone in power accountable. And also your trajectory speaks for itself. You have only matured and been more, let's say, reflective of what we need in a democratic republic. Someone who understands anyone's trauma and centers and uplifts the community that has expanded, that has been most responsible for expanding democracy in America, which is the people you represent. Lastly, Rev, my wife and I are planning to come to the House of Justice, not this, but maybe next Saturday. I would love to meet you. We're developing a new accountability tool, which is a public scorecard rating politicians, influencers, and media voices on a scale from autocracy to democracy. Think of it as Hitler as a 0 and Dr. King as a 10. And we'd love to share more with you or anyone who might have a moment at NAN for your feedback and to help find folks who believe in democracy and rebuilding our democracy. We're now in the process of putting out surveys and getting feedback. And so, whether I meet you and, have a discussion with you about it or can present something to you or someone at NAN, I would just treasure that if you had the time.
Now that's Saturday after next, I'll be there. I don't know how they've scheduled it, but I would the meetings I do after. But I would urge you to call Reverend Ron McHenry.
Okay.
At the headquarters.
Thank you, sir.
646 877. Even better.
877-626-4651.
877-626-4651. 877-626-4651. Ask for Reverend Ron McHenry. Tell him you talked to me on the air and that you'll be there Saturday after next, and make sure he's available to meet with you and that we meet, or that I at least meet y'all if I don't have if I can't sit in for the whole meeting, tell him that's what I said, and he'll arrange it.
Bless you, Rev. Thank you. I love you. Thank you so much.
Love
Bless
you.
you.
I look forward to meeting you. Let's go to Demetrius in Cleveland, Ohio. Demetrius.
Hey, thank you, Reverend Sharpton. It's good talking to you today. I just want to speak quickly concerning the redistricting that's going on in Texas by the Republicans. You know, the citizens of Texas can do the same thing what they did here in the state of Ohio. They took the referendum on the ballot, so the citizens can decide whether or not they want an outside agency to draw up the districts. But we have the same problem here in Ohio because the Republican Party, you know, they refuse to follow the court order and follow through with making sure the district was divided up equally. And so the people in Texas, the citizens, you know, they can put out a referendum, or not that go out for enough votes, and ask people, you know, to sign a petition so they can get approved by the courts. You know, so it'd be on the ballot. So it'd be an outside entity. Even though some people feel like that outside agency might can be influenced, but it can't be no more corrupt than what the Republican Party is doing for their own benefit. You know, instead of just letting the district be divided up fairly, and don't do it because Donald Trump want to have a majority in the Congress and Senate.
Right.
And I'm concerned the firing of the lady who reported the job statistics. You know, this is a bad precedent to set. You know, if Donald Trump can get away with it, so just like he want to fire the head of the Federal Reserve, he want yes people in positions like some of his cabinet positions is being filled by people who have no type of experience, so they have no type of rebuttal to any type of his policies because they don't know no more than he do. You know, and if he get away with this, you know, outside agencies, you know, because he as a president, he have a right to appoint his cabinet members. But when it comes to reporting job statistics in the Federal Reserve, those outside agencies to a certain extent. You know, he can't have him influencing outside agencies for his own benefit, so he can just try to build up, you know, his standing with the public while the public suffer. Like you spoke earlier concerning black unemployment. You know, black unemployment it's going to steady increase, I believe, because the jobs that are available because of the cutback, maybe because the propaganda Donald Trump put out that some black people don't deserve their jobs. Say affirmative action gave no jobs, even though it's not true. You know,
hold 1 minute. I'll come right back to you. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back. I had a thought this morning that I want to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors, but there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones, who became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talents in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me for the other things. They'll come and help me, once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. And they were not going to impose themselves on me. Why am I saying that? Because too many mentors want clones, and too many mentees want their mentors to put them on a pedestal. Oh, so-and-so didn't do this for me. Oh, so-and-so didn't open doors for me. If they got to open doors for you, it may mean that they knew you weren't ready to go through those doors. Their job is to prepare you. Your job is to develop your own skills, your own unique ways. And I don't care if it's my daughters, who both have come into their own, or anyone else. I'm not a talent agent. I did not form National Action Network to give people their step up. I formed it to fight for justice for everybody. If talented people get in, it's my job to invest and give them a platform. It's their job to get on the platform and perform and show their ability. Sitting with me today in the office as I talk about is one of my mentees, Reverend Stephen Marshall. Now, Stephen, you just came around us when you were how old?
11 years old.
11 years old. You just turned 40 and now you're called to the ministry?
Yes, sir.
And what do you do in National Action Network?
I formulate policies, lead in various regions, but most importantly, I senior advisor to you on all things from social justice strategies, politics, intergovernmental affairs, you name it, community organizing, all of that stuff.
And I could go through scores of others. My daughter started Huddle. They got Huddles now, which is for young people to meet once a week all over the country. I just saw the video from the Las Vegas National Action Network chapter. Now, when you decided to preach, did I ever tell you to become a preacher?
Not one time.
Who called you to preach?
The Lord.
All right. And did I say go to this school or that school?
No, sir.
Did I open this door, that door? Did I tell you be ready when the doors open?
Always be ready and prepared.
And that's what I'm saying. Get you some young people than you that you can help along the way. But don't be their talent agent. Their talent must speak for themselves. And anybody that grumbles with you about so-and-so didn't do something for them, maybe it's because they didn't feel you were ready, or that they felt if they did it, you wouldn't do it on your own. But we all don't live forever. I want the next generation to speak of me, of National Action Network, and others, the way I speak of Reverend Jones and Bishop Washington and Shirley Chisholm and Reverend Jackson. But I just don't want young people to feel that somebody ought to give them the reins of leadership or give them the reins of business or whatever it is you're in. You need to learn from their journey, get the pearls of wisdom from them, but don't have them do for you, because then it means you can't do it for yourself. Hey, what's up? They got, they're doing, thank you. They're doing, what's on your mind? Yeah. All right, then, oh, you got a birthday this week. I got to talk about that.
Oh, no.
Happy birthday this weekend. And Carrie White's birthday, right?
Corey's birthday is today.
Yeah, and I got to tell Reverend Birthday ready Daniel 5th chapter. I want him to read. And I'm ready. I got a message from today, so we'll be on the air in what, half hour?
About a half hour.
So tune in to WBLS 107.5 FM and National Impact and www.nationalnetwork.net. All right, I'm ready. Make sure you operate on time or I'll tell them how old you are. We go to fulfilling the weekend assignment of assessing on this first day of the last 5 months of the year on whether we have been faithful, accountable to our New Year's commitments and New Year's resolutions just 7 months ago, 6 months ago. We need to really assess whether or not we were really committed to it. to pray and not change your habits, your mindset, your discipline is to waste your time. And if you're praying, wasting God's time. Because what you're asking for, you really don't want. If you brought the same mindset, same habits, and same associations that were negative into 2025 that you had in 2023 or 2024. And it's not about saying any of those habits and thoughts may have been wrong. It's that you had pledged the resolve to sharpen them in 2025. And you haven't really changed much of anything, which is why you haven't really accomplished and achieved what you resolved and committed to achieve on January 1st. I was reading just yesterday this. Paul Drucker said the best way to predict the future is to create it. Think about that. You want to know where you're going in the future? You're going exactly where you create in the presence your preparation and ability to go in the future. People say all the time, Reverend Al, I can't predict the future. And they're right, neither can I. But one thing I can predict and have a lot to say about is the kind of person I'm going to be in the future. What I stand for, what I stand against, how I prepare myself every day, how I'm disciplined. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I know the kind of person I'm going to be no matter what happens. Traveling around the country, talking to the radio announcers, the church people and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Or go to live stream at nationalactionnetwork.net and we will read your messages. Is this Onilda Acosta says, good afternoon, Rev. Praise God. Mother Catherine Nixon sends her love and would love to speak with you. I'd love to speak with her. That's one of our Bedrock Pillar members. Wow, that's a great message. Yeah, please call the House of Justice set up for me to call and talk to Miss Nixon. I think Lisa Johnson said, I was in Houston when you and Sister Jackson were there. God is my joy, and how wonderful to see steps. Well, I'm glad you were there and glad to hear from you. Let me go back to Demetrius in Cleveland. Go ahead, Demetrius.
Hey, thank you, Reverend Sharpton. Yeah, I just want to say also, with the Republicans' belief that, by cutting back on the funds, people can work for their benefits. But the situation is the highest inflation is and the lowest pay is, people going to still be in the red, be in the hole, because they won't be able to pay for the utility bills. Utility bills is going up, food is high, paying rent is high, paying mortgages is high. So really, going to work on the people in the worst situation, and to me, and you think automatically that cutting off benefits going to have people to go to work when the jobs that exist, they can't support anyone. Also, with the cutting of job training programs, people who don't have high school diploma or don't have any type of trade or college degree, most of the jobs out now require some type of computer understanding or some type of technical understanding. And you'd be surprised the number of youth who's graduating, who don't graduate from high school, who just out here, they're in the neighborhood, and some of them can't read properly, can't do math properly. And to leave them out here, they're not having the opportunity to have job training, to get a GED, because these funds is being dried up. It's appalling. To me, that's essentially just leaving other people out, to suffer. And hopefully some people want those youth to, not just youth, but to turn to crime in their own community. And that's self-destruction, and that's prevent, other class of people from having the same opportunity that upper class children have. So really, it's almost like a orchestrated genocide in a technical way. So certain class of people want to raise up, to have the same opportunities. So what I believe, that's why American people have looked at this on a broader scale. It's really a class struggle. It's a struggle for values and against criminality on the upper levels. It's a crime to take away benefits from people. Have children who won't be able to get food in some school systems. May not be able to pay their utility bills, be cold in the winter. And then some of these jobs is far out. Then sometimes you have vouchers for public transportation. The grants for public transportation might even be eliminated. So people will be able to pay fares to go to work. To me, all of this is just outrageous, and it's a crime against the struggling people, especially taking money from the struggling individuals and giving it to big corporations who can't afford to send their children to best schools, can't afford proper health care, when they want to take away even the minimal health care, from the average citizen who's working or who is working. Jobs may not even have benefits, may not even have medical benefits, or they don't be getting days off. So I believe this administration has to be called, a record for the assault on humanity in this country and abroad. They throw food to the Gazans out of airplanes, similar where they threw food to the Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico after the hurricane was there. But Trump was also the first time. So you have to be more respect for human life in this administration. It have a one-track mind, not just administration, but some of his backers as well, some other people in the Republican Party trying to take the clock back. And as African Americans and other races as well, we can't have a subservient mind to accept servant classism as being a fatalism. Like that's the way it's always been. That's the way it should be. We can't do that, and we have to respect each other, and don't be our own worst enemy over jealousy and out of bread from a table. To turn out our own people. We have to help each other out. Those who want to be helped, but those who want to hurt us, even among ourselves, we have to limit. I don't say eliminate them, but we have to ignore them or let them know we're not going to start the progress of those who's trying to do better. But sometimes they be working for those who are trying to hold us down, working for the enemy, for people struggling to do the right thing. All right, thank you, Raj Sharpton.
All right, thank you
Finish
for
up
your
my
call.
comment.
Thank you for your call and always your insights. Let me go to Chicago to my dear friend, the beloved Miss Eunice. Miss Eunice, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton on Hot Button Monday.
Good afternoon, Rev, and I want to thank you for such great shows that you have.
Thank you.
Sure. And I would just, Rev, it is a shame Trump is allowed to fire people just because he don't like the report that comes out. It is what it is. This guy thinks he knows any and everything. Time out. Pressure needs to be put on these elected officials across this country on a daily basis, and they have let their constituents down for one man. And there should be no gerrymandering for the sake of stopping the vote. They're so blatant with what they do. And to have one man controlling everything is dangerous, especially one who has the mental capacity as Donald Trump. He has no compassion for anybody. He lies every time he opens his mouth. And, Reb, I'm 92 years old.
Wow.
Never in my life have I seen anyone like Donald J. Trump. You had Bull Connor, Faubus, Bilbo, Wallace, and others. They were bad, all right. But I think this guy here tops the cake and takes all the icing off of it. So again, thank you. Again, thank you, and keep up the good work. Love you, Rev.
I love you back. Thank you for your call. All right, we're joined now. I was waiting, but my screen wasn't updated, so he's been there. I did not know that. My bad. The Democratic strategist and founder and CEO of Blueprint Strategy, LLC, the one and only Antoine Seawright. Antoine, how you doing today?
Coming in hot, Rev. It's surely hot Monday out there.
Well, let's go right to the heat then. Break down for us the whole question of what's going on with the Texas Democrats leaving Texas, headed to Illinois, where Governor Pritz of Illinois is hosting them. We've seen this happen before. I remember a few years ago when they had to flee the state to stop a vote. That's where I first met Jasmine Campbell. I'm Jasmine
Crockett.
Yeah, Crockett. I used to have somebody work here named Kid. That's why I got mixed up. But Jasmine Crockett. And she was a state legislator then. So we've seen this before. What is your reading on this?
Well, anybody who says, like some of these anonymous Democratic quoters are saying that both parties are the same are out of their mind, and I think we see this playing out in real time. Reb, I'll probably come at it from the perspective that you come at it. They've been relentless in their pursuit to bleach the country, to eliminate black political power, and now they're threatened by brown political power, and they've been relentless in their pursuit to dilute and exterminate the Voting Rights Act. What this does is simply feeds that narrative on steroids. And what I see Democrats in Texas doing is showing grit and fight. Texas Republicans, and I think the Republican Party can be summed up this way, as they say down in Texas, all hat, no cattle, meaning all talk and no walk. And if you think about the strategy they have, since we can't beat you, we'll cheat you. They're going to redraw the lines. This right-wing activist Supreme Court will find some word or some phrase going back to some court case way back when that will probably give them the leverage they need, and they're going to try to do everything they can to either not have an election in 2026 or do everything they can to keep us from winning the election, and they're going to go full mat. What we can't do is give in to the fights. So to my Democratic governor's friends, I understand it from some text messages. I think there's 3 of them listening to our show today. I hope, like hell, that y'all will fight and redraw the lines in your state. Do whatever you got to do. To my friends in state legislative seats around the country where we have power, I hope you will take advantage of your power. And to the Washington Democrats, I think we've got to send a strong message to the American people that some things just cannot fly in a representative democracy. And that's redrawing lines midstream for the sake of one group of people having power.
Now, the other part of this that I think is troubling, and I talked about it last night on Politics Nation, is that the Supreme Court now has taken up a case in Louisiana where they're trying to act as though Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which is 60 years old on this Wednesday, by the way, that Section 2 is racist against whites, and is being used as racist against whites because it says that you cannot define a voter or a voting area based on race, and that they built this black congressional district based on it was for blacks. So they're saying it was racist. If they do that and take out Section 2, they've already neutralized a lot of Section 4 and 5. This would basically kill the Voting Rights Act. So you have the situation in Texas where they're trying to redraw the lines and then others would do it. And you have the situation in Louisiana that Supreme Court could change the whole law. Let's talk about that when we come back. Keeping it real. Serious times, y'all. Be right back. Sharpton, see you right.
country talking to the radio announcers, the church people and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body, if he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepping to the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God doesn't smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. One more time. I want to say real song. I'll say God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has And she said, son, even though we don't have much, we don't need relief. All we need is belief. And she said, he didn't tell you no lie, because the Lord will take care of you. God sits high, but he looks down low. And every time you get discouraged, every time you're burdened down, all you have to do is think of the things that God made a way for you and look toward the heavens. Lift your eyes to the hills and say, God, 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 don't smile on me. Now then, the God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. That has been so good to me. Yes, he has. I say, God, smile on me. He has set me free. And I know all over the country, smile on me. We need jobs. We need a way to make it. We need help. We need jobs. We need a way to make some money to feed our families and raise our bread. We need a way to survive, so we don't need crime as a survival kit. We just need a little bit. But don't give the hope up. Don't lose the faith, because God will smile on you. God will give you the strength. God will make a way for you. Adam Great Power said, keep the faith. Keep the faith, baby. I hear Robert Kennedy saying that it's not the dream of, but it's the dream that'll live on forever. Just know that God will smile on you. Dr. King had a dream. Dr. King said, I went to the mountaintop, but I didn't stop there. I looked over and saw the promised land. I hear Brother Malcolm saying, don't sit on the stoop. Stand up and be a man. Respect yourself. Be somebody. Then I hear the brothers in the Hispanic community say, I'm going to stand up and be a man. I'm going to do the best I can. I had a reaper say, I don't care what time you come home, but just give me some respect when you get there. Lord, now God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God smiled on me. You've been so good to me. Sit down. And as we move on in history, let us remember that if we look to God, God has the answer to all of our problems. God is still the same God he was years ago, and we can still make it. We can still hold on like Frederick Douglass did. We can still keep him on like Martin Luther King did. We can still ride on the way everyone that made it did. They didn't have much, but they had a whole lot of faith. They didn't have money, but they had a lot of determination. We know that God will look out for his children, that God will make a way out of no way if you just keep the faith and refuse to lose. And God will make a way, because God's children don't have color. God's children just have will. And I can still hear somewhere in my mind James Brown say, God
Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Antoine, as we see the battle lines drawn in over the fight in terms of the redrawing of the district lines in Texas and the Supreme Court fight in as it relates to Louisiana, we see the Democrats are beginning to gear up to fight back. I had the chair of the DNC, Ken Martin, on I think Saturday night on my show, and he seemed a little more aggressive and feisty than I've seen in a while. Are we going to see all of this bring out more of a fighting spirit among the Democratic leadership? Because there's been a lot of talk on the base that they're not fighting back. They've got the lowest polling numbers that they've gotten in as a party since '92. Will this bring out the fight in the Democratic Party?
Well, certainly I think this is going to pull even more fire alarms in every room in the House. And when I say in the House, meaning around this country, Reb, because what happens in Texas and what's going to happen with this right-wing activist court in Louisiana is going to have America implications. And Reb, just from a historical perspective, I teased this in my opening comments, but I want to say this again. They've been relentless in their pursuit to unravel the Voting Rights Act. And and what they've been doing is consistently trying to win elections and get a hold of that nation, get a hold to the Supreme Court so they can dilute and exterminate the Voting Rights Act. They've already whitewashed Section 4. They've already, took some key infrastructure pieces out of Section 5 because of what they did to Section 4. Now, if they gut Section 2 in the way they can, you pretty much unravel the Voting Rights Act,
right?
And which is very dangerous, very, very dangerous for America. And Red, let me just share this, and I think you know this. When Newt Gingrich did his contract with America in 1992, it was for this moment right here in 2025.
Right.
They've got control of the Texas legislature and a bunch of them around the country. They've got control of the courts. They're going after school boards and Moms versus Liberty. So this has been a long-term pursuit for them to exterminate and to keep black folks from having elected representation. That's why we can't play this game in every single election. We are casting a survival vote. And when I say that, people say, oh, you're young, you really don't understand. But now those same people call and text me saying, oh, hell, what we need to do because this stuff is real.
No, I think it's right. Evangelist Ramsey's on our message page saying, you got that right, Rev. These are perilous times. Just keep praying. And we need to work and pray. Evangelist Ramsey, one of our great activists, so she works and prays. I think that what is so troubling to me is that there has not been the kind of action that I would like to see on the other side. That's why we're having the Wall Street March on August 28th, end of this month, because it's easy to say what the politicians are not doing, but even in the community, our community meetings ought to be packed. Our parents' meetings at schools ought to be packed. Our social fraternities ought to be packed. We ought to be marched. This shouldn't be the first major march since Trump got back in. So it's easy to say, well, the Democrats are not doing nothing in Congress. What are we doing in the neighborhoods? We've not shown that we are ready to fight back. We've been laying as a community like punching bags for Trump to just keep wallowing away at. And I think all of us need to show our best hand, not just the politicians.
Well, Reb, the great Lou Stokes, a great man of Kappa Alpha Psi, founding member of the Congressional Black Caucus, once said, the only way the Negro and his cause will be elevated is as if the Negro and his people will elevate his cause. And I think we've got to take that to heart. We've got to grab this bull by the horn ourselves and elevate our own fight. Because unlike other communities, we are casting a survival vote in every single thing. And Rev, I don't know if you've been paying attention to this, but I surely have. There have been a couple cases around the country where they've already canceled elections that are supposed to be on the ballot this year. I know there's one down in Florida, and I forget the other two states. And so strategically and methodically, they are trying to unravel the puzzle, and we will be the ones impacted, because if they can cancel local elections all across this country or delay them, that means they retain the power they have.
No, there's no question, and I think that it is. I stress what Evangelist Ramsey said, according to me. These are perilous times, and I don't think people understand how perilous this is. When you are sitting up here, Antoine, with a president that talked about black jobs, and y'all should support me with deportation because they're taking your black jobs. He deports thousands of people, and black unemployment went up. We're 7.2% more unemployment than we've had since before the pandemic. And there's no rebellion to that. There's no standing up fighting that back. I went through it both nights and went on Morning Joy and went on Nicole Wallace. Because I'm saying, how can we miss this? And this was a direct overture to black folks. They taking your black jobs. Well, then why is unemployment going up and you deported all these people? Where's our black jobs?
And Rev, keep in mind, we're going to see that number skyrocket come September when all the layoffs from the federal government, which we know a large percentage will be black Americans,
right,
will be counted into the unemployment number. We're going to see that number skyrocket. But here's the number that no one is paying attention to, Rev. And I was with Wally this weekend, the 16th Deputy Secretary of Commerce under the Biden-Harris administration. Here's the number no one is paying attention to. The implosion that we're going to have in black poverty because of the cuts to SNAP benefits, the racial equality gap. When we close that for the first time in 20 years because of the Biden-Harris administration, that has widened now under the Trump administration. We've seen home ownership decline. We've seen healthcare numbers drop. All these things have happened in black America that we made substantial progress on just under the Biden-Harris administration. In a matter of 7 months, it's declined to the worst since the pandemic. That's where we've got to worry about our own economic security as black Americans, and we can't play around and get hoodwinked by a man who don't give two flying kites about us.
Give me your view of the fact that we've not talked since it was announced that former Vice President Kamala Harris announced she's not running for governor of California, and there's projection that she may be doing that to wait and run again for president. Mm-hmm. What is your view of her not running, and what are your views about forecasting a 28 run? Do you think there are those that want her to run again?
Let's go to break after the question.
Do you think that there will be an inclination to run? Let me take the break, let you think over the break, and I'd like some of our callers to call in and talk about what do you think is the best road for Kamala Harris. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you're very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
a race baiter.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, the Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
Everywhere I go, whether it's in rallies and community gatherings or churches, on my radio show, people are saying the Democrats need to fight back. They're not standing hard on the issues. It's time to not let Trump continue to control the narrative. And that is what I'm raising tonight. Democrats need to stand up and fight back. And don't give an inch on the Epstein files. He promised his followers he'd come with the files. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I didn't know anything about farming. But my mother was from Alabama. She took my sister and I to see our grandmother once in Alabama. And as we walked around a little farm, she told me, I'll tell you something about farming. You see that pen of hogs over there? I said, yes, ma'am. She says, if you throw a brick in a pile of hogs, the one that hollers is the one you hit. Every day since this whole thing came up, I've been hearing hollering from Donald Trump. Something hit him. We need to see the files to see what it is. That does it for me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you back here next weekend at 5 p.m. Eastern. But first, you can catch me tomorrow, Monday, on Morning Joe, right here on MSNBC, starting at 6 a.m. Eastern. The weekend primetime starts at the top of the hour. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Don't forget, watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time every Saturday and Sunday. Live at 5 on MSNBC. And we had a stellar lineup of everybody from Eric Holder to Barry Gordy's son to the head of the Democratic Party, all this weekend to those that were in the Texas delegation. You don't want to miss one Saturday or one Sunday of Politics Nation with Al Sharpton on MSNBC, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, you that are in the tri-state area, you definitely don't want to miss Saturday Action Rally, getting your energy, getting your passion up, and focus. That's why it's good to be together. And we are there every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I don't care what you see on TV or what you hear. I'm going to be there Saturday mornings, other than maybe 2 a year, and I already missed my one of the 2 at Essence. I always do Essence Music Festival. So meet me this Saturday Action Rally at the House of Justice, 145th Street and Lenox Avenue in the village of Harlem, 9 a.m. to 11. And then, of course, you that are not in the New York area can watch it live on Impact Television, the only black-owned national black gospel network. And then, of course, you can also watch it live on our live stream at nationalactionnetwork.net. And all roads lead to Wall Street. This Wall Street March, we're getting a lot of people signing up. The Urban League is in, National Urban League, National Coalition of Black Women, National Council of Negro Women, the AFSME Union, the AFT Union, the NEA Union, the AF Government Employees Union, the SEIU, all of them and their members. People are coming because they say you're right. The way to commemorate I Have a Dream Day is to go where the people are making the money off the dream busters. So Martin Luther King III and I said we're going to Wall Street this year. And we'll start 10 a.m. at the African Burial Ground and march it's 1.2 to be exact miles to the Bull at Wall Street to have our rally. We're going to deal with Trump and deal with the 2017 tax cut bill he's put back in where the people down on Wall Street got the benefits. Antoine, let me go back to you. Kamala Harris, your opinion on what she announced and what is being forecast.
Well, I said this to Leader Jeffries, by the way. Happy birthday to Leader Jeffries. I know he's listening to our program today, so happy birthday to you, Mr. Leader. I said this to him this weekend we were together, and I said that, people have to understand that you do not have to be elected to be respected. And Vice President Harris came from an activist background from her parents, and so her return to grassroots activism is not new to her, it's true to her. So I'm thankful that she's taking the time to listening to the American people and not being a transactional leader and listening to people and hearing what the American people want. Because as I've said time and time again, post 2024 November, as Democrats, we've got to learn to listen more than we talk and hear what people's priorities are. And if she decides to step back into the arena from an electoral standpoint, then we should welcome her to the conversation the same way people who did not look like us welcome Hillary Clinton back to the conversation after she had lost a presidential election. And for the people who, I saw a quote in Politico the other day that says that Kamala Harris was the gravity that brought down the Democrats. Well, she got 70 million plus votes, more than any other Democratic candidate in recent history. So I don't think that's bringing down the cause. I think we have some work to do to strengthen our overall cause, but certainly she was elevation in many places, the record amount of money she raised, and she will always bring something to the conversation table, and she will be important for shaping the future of our country, the Constitution, the Congress, and perhaps our party.
Wow. I think you said a mouthful there. There's a lot of speculation of a lot of people that want to run. Do you think any of that is premature, being that we've got a midterms?
Well, Rev, anybody who is focusing their efforts and attention and their eyes on 2028 is not serious about the future of this country. Because we're in a fight every single day for survival in America, and all you have to do is look at what they're trying to do. And quite frankly, we've got to focus all of our attention and efforts on 2025 versus worrying about 2026, 2027, or 2028. And I said that to Governor Andy Beshear this past weekend. If we're not focused on 2025, then nobody is serious about the future of America, because there will be over 100,000 races on the ballot, including state Supreme Court seats, mayoral elections, statewide elections in 2 states, and so many other, and a record number of school board races on the ballot in November of this year. If we don't tune our focus and attention there, then certainly we will run the risk of losing even more progress and power in this country, particularly Black Americans.
All right, let's go to Money Mike in Baltimore, Maryland. Money Mike at Baltimore, Maryland, WOLB. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Antoine, look, Rev, you said something Thursday that I've been saying for the last 10 years maybe, but I've been saying one other thing. But you talked about the Republicans are playing chess while the Democrats are playing checkers. And your good friend and mine, too, Senator Larry Young, during this election, me and him both said many, many times that elections have consequences, that this man will have a chance to nominate people to the Supreme Court. And you said last week, now he has a chance to possibly nominate 2 more that are younger to the Supreme Court. So that's my gripe with the Democratic Party, is that they never really, in my opinion, they never really strategized. They never really thought. They didn't encourage us to go to PTAs, to go to local sheriff's elections and city council elections. And now, right now, the Republicans have the power. And I think it's going to take a depression, Al, Reverend Uncle Al, to get Black people energized, because right now we are splintered, we're shattered, and the middle class, they've done a great job at moving the middle class to the suburbs. And right now, in my opinion, most middle class people and upper middle class African Americans, they feel they don't have to reach back. They don't have to pull others along with them. And now they're going about day-to-day living like there's nothing in jeopardy, when actually everything is at stake. Everything is in jeopardy. And I'll take your comments, Uncle Al.
All right, thank you for your call. I think everything is in jeopardy, and I think that everything is in a very serious position. But I also think that there are those that understand that politically you've got to organize from the ground up. And a lot of our political leaders are dealing in their local communities from the ground up. Some are not, and I challenge them. But I think we can't say that none of them are doing this. But I think that Donald Trump has put us all in a position where we have no choice but to go ahead and stand up and fight. And
Can I make one more comment?
Yeah, I thought you said you were going to let me take your comment off the air. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know you're limited for time, but when you talked about marching on Wall Street, I agree with that strategy, but I also agree that, look, tariffs do a job, sanctions do a job, and that's what all this world really understands, in my opinion, is that if we don't hurt this country economically, that's the only thing they really understand.
And let me answer that, because I'm going to run into a break. Let me answer that. If we cannot organize people to do direct action like marches, you will not organize boycotts. It is easy to say direct boycotts. I grew up doing them. I was youth director of Operation Breadbasket. You've got to first energize people and mobilize them. And then you're able to do that. So then you can choose a target and say, this is who we're targeting. We're going after this company. And therefore, we're going to put people outside in front of those retail stores or corporate offices every week until they give us what we want. Boycott is not having one or two press conferences. You've got to be able to do damage. People quote Dr. King in the Montgomery boycott. They closed the company down. And the company changed the law and said, yeah, blacks can sit up front. And I think that a lot of us think just calling for, we going to do this means something. They'll take your not shopping for a while. As long as they can keep operating, they figure they can weather through the storm. And that's why when you hit, you got to hit knowing you've mobilized people. That's why we've called this March on Wall Street. Because if people are ready to march, people will then, therefore, if we assign, we're going after this company, we need 20 cities to march. We need this or that and all. But you cannot go to war without an army. And you can't have an army if they're not awakened and ready to go to the battlefield. And that is, I agree with you, Money Mike, but I'm just talking about you need preparation. That's why even when you go into armed services, they bring you to boot camp before they put you out there to fight on the battleground. And I think we've got to do some boot camp work this summer and go after these people, but know that we have a sustaining army of people that's willing to fight.
Depression, a Great Depression back in 1929 to 32, because I don't see people being energized. That's all I'm saying, Uncle Al. I agree with your strategy.
I totally agree. That's why we going to do what we going to do to try to energize them and see who is energized. Let me take a break. We'll be right back. Thank you for your call, Money Mike. We'll be right back. More of you on the phones, 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton. See right. Be right back. We go to fulfilling the weekend assignment of assessing on this first day of the last 5 months of the year on whether we have been faithful, accountable to our New Year's commitments and New Year's resolutions just 7 months ago, 6 months ago. We need to really assess whether or not we were really committed to it. To pray and not change your habits, your mindset, your discipline is to waste your time. And if you're praying, wasting God's time. Because what you're asking for, you really don't want. If you brought the same mindset, same habits, and same associations that were negative into 2025 that you had in 2023 or 2024. And it's not about saying any of those habits and thoughts may have been wrong. It's that you had pledged the resolve to sharpen them in 2025. And you haven't really changed much of anything which is why you haven't really accomplished and achieved what you resolved and committed to achieve on January 1st. I was reading just yesterday this, Paul Drucker said the best way to predict the future is to create it. Think about that. You want to know where you're going in the future? You're going exactly where you create in the presence your preparation and ability to go in the future. People say all the time, Reverend Al, I can't predict the future. And they're right, neither can I. But one thing I can predict and have a lot to say about is the kind of person I'm going to be in the future. What I stand for, what I stand against, how I prepare myself every day, how I'm disciplined. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I know the kind of person I'm going to be no matter what happens.
Over the weekend, President Donald Trump called for Vice President Kamala Harris to be prosecuted, falsely claiming yet again that Harris paid for endorsements from celebrities during her 2024 presidential campaign. In a rant posted on social media, Trump claimed that Beyonce received $11 million, that Oprah got $3 million, and that the Reverend Al Sharpton took home $600,000 to endorse the then vice president. We have a couple questions for you on this, but let's just start most simply with the accusation that President Trump has leveled at you. Were you paid for an endorsement?
Well, absolutely not. And as the FEC filings say, they helped the campaign, gave funds for Get Out the Vote campaigns for National Action Network, of which I'm a part of, and other civil rights groups, some which got more than National Action Network did. National Action Network, nor I, even endorsed her. What is interesting about this, though, is that the fact that this is the, as you accurately reported, second or third time, lawyers for National Action Network was looking at, can we sue him for defamation? Because he had knowledge this time that there was no endorsement and that I didn't get any money. This went to the nonprofit that I'm connected to. But let's look at the larger picture here. Donald Trump is in very serious problems around this whole question of Epstein. So last week, he was trying to flood the zone to take any pressure off of him and try to put his MAGA base back together again. The fact is, he started by saying he's going to fire the Fed chief. That didn't work. Then he went on to something about tariffs. That didn't work. Then he decided to do what he started his political career on, start race baiting, which was, he started with birtherism, that Obama wasn't born here. Then he went and released the files now last week of Martin Luther King Jr., some of which are very questionable, and the family was opposed to him doing it. That didn't work. The next day he goes after Barack Obama, saying he ought to be prosecuted. That didn't work. Then he tried something else. Then over the weekend, Kamala Harris, Oprah Winfrey, Beyonce, Al Sharpton. The race card, the thread here is race. And that's what he's trying to do. They're swapping money. They're doing things like Obama was holding back with Russia. It's all about trying to get past Epstein. We have shown in National Action Network and other groups what we did and didn't do in the campaign. Even when I spoke at the convention, I said we don't endorse candidates. We have come with our files. Release the Epstein files, Mr. Trump. Do what we did or be quiet. Everywhere I go, whether it's in rallies and community gatherings or churches, on my radio show, people are saying the Democrats need to fight back. They're not standing hard on the issues. It's time to not let Trump continue to control the narrative. And that is what I'm raising tonight. Democrats need to stand up and fight back. And don't give an inch on the Epstein files. He promised his followers he'd come with the files. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I didn't know anything about farming. But my mother was from Alabama. She took my sister and I to see our grandmother once in Alabama. And as we walked around the little farm, she told me, I'll tell you something about farming. You see that pen of hogs over there? I said, yes, ma'am. She says, if you throw a brick in a pile of hogs, the one that hollers is the one you hit. Every day since this whole thing came up, I've been hearing hollering from Donald Trump. Something hit him. We need to see the files to see what it is. That does it for me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you back here next weekend at 5 p.m. Eastern. But first, you can catch me tomorrow, Monday, on Morning Joe, right here on MSNBC, starting at 6 a.m. Eastern. The weekend primetime starts at the top of the hour. Stop going through your life like you are a co-star or a bit player in your own drama. No, you are the main star. You're the central figure in your life. What you decide is what is the major thrust of your life. And others may contribute, impact, affect, but it's your life that you're central in. So stop trying to lay the weight of what you do or don't do on others. That weight is squarely on your shoulders and in your hand. And if you want to defer and give your life choices to others, that's on you. If they have any sense at all, they will be so busy trying to conduct and properly guide their life, they will not have time to try to major in your life. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, and Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Reverend, I saw you, I'm making you a reverend, but Brother Seawright, I think that one of the things, the reason I raised the issue about former Vice President Harris,
Right.
is that one of the things that I am very aggressively trying to focus our community on is you can't fight the war and ignore the battles that you need to win to get to the war. And that is, they will try, they being public media, particularly right-wing media, they will try to have us rush forward to 28. Is it Bashir in Kentucky? Is it Shapiro in Pennsylvania? Is it Westmore? Will Kamala come in and try to book foot them? That we can handle later. Right now we have a redistricting fight that will set the tone for the future of voting in our community and in other communities. And it will decide the midterm elections whether or not the Democrats can overtake the Republicans in the House and possibly the Senate. If they can take your focus off 26, they ain't got to worry about you in 28. And I think that it is important for those of us with platforms that we tell people, hold it, don't go for the okie doke. They want to make this about 28 so they can do what they want to do with these lines, redraw these lines, keep a majority of the House, and you will suffer 2 more longer years than you should have while Trump is president. I mean, the arrogance of Trump, matched only by his insensitivity, that while you are cutting Medicaid, while you are cutting SNAP programs, you're going to project a multi-$100 million ballroom to be built at the White House in the middle of all this. I mean, forget that he's saying that, well, you know, we need to have a ballroom to seat 650 and it's going to cost a couple $100 million, but we'll raise the money. Why would you even be thinking when Americans are losing health care, hospitals having to close, and you think about a ballroom? It shows the contempt he has for the American people, even his own supporters. And I don't want people jumping past that into some assigned, cow call of candidates for 28. Let's deal with that much later.
Well, Rev, I would just say this. Before we even get to 26, we've got to deal with 2025. Because let me tell you what the scenarios could be. Not only do we have the 100,000+ things on the ballot, as I mentioned, including a very critical state Supreme Court seat in Pennsylvania, but we also could have a ballot initiative that's going to cost $150 million likely in California in order for California to be able to redistrict. There could be a ballot initiative in Ohio that could deal with Ohio redistricting, where they're trying to exterminate Marcy, Captain, and Amelia Sykes seats and exterminate that map, and some other places. And if we also win in New Jersey, win in Virginia, we could have 2 Democratic governors and 2 Democratic legislatures that could also call special sessions to redraw the lines. And so that's why I've been trying to focus all my efforts and attention on 2025 and not let the media or anyone else get us distracted about 2026. And look, Donald Trump is going to put up distractions in many forms over the next couple of weeks. One, from the Epstein files, he's going to distract away from this reckless unemployment rate that's up to 4.2%, this piss-poor job reports, the worst 3 months since the pandemic, if you take out the pandemic. In fact, some economists say it's been the worst since we came out of the Great Depression, which would have been in 2010. So he's going to do everything to distract the conversation, include firing the person who's overseeing the numbers. And so we can't get ourselves caught up in his distractions. We've got to stay focused on the voice that we can control. The voice that we can control is our vote, and our vote has to be used intentionally in 2025.
And it's got to be used with all the impact we can muster. Let's go back to the phone. Let's go to Jacob in Philadelphia, WRD.
Peace be unto you, Reverend Sharpton and Brother Antoine. Peace be unto you. Reverend, now politics nation is getting more better and more better. Man, I'm telling you, this weekend it was bombastic, man, the information that you brought to us. But, you know, coming from Philadelphia here, Philly International Records, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes featuring Teddy Pendergrass had a right. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more backwards thinking. Time for thinking ahead. You know, to your question on Vice President, you know, what should she be doing? Well, I saw her on the Stephen Colbert show, and she said she's going to be chilling for a while.
Right.
You know, let her exhale. You know, why do black Americans always have to be on the front line? Or people think we're not doing anything. I mean, we'll start with Christmas addicts. You know what I mean? We've been fighting for these rights and this democracy and this constitution ever since, you know, we could. So ain't it time for some, what they used to call them, the Ronald Reagan Republicans that say that they love this democracy, this constitution, this flag? Where's Bush? You know, Chris Christie, he says everything every once in a while. He come out, you know, and try to expose what he was with at one time. At least he's admitting that, well, I was on the wrong side. I made a mistake. But where are some of the other prominent Republican leaders? Why they always want us to, you know, in other words, just wear us out while what? You know, y'all chill? Nah. So I'm just saying, what you say, Reverend Al, shouldn't it be more prominent Republicans and white coming out against knowing what this man is trying to do? He's trying to be a dictator. He's trying to take us to that. What happens in these what's them countries that's got the leaders, that Turkey. That's why he likes them guys, the guy leader from Turkey.
Yeah,
he loves all these type people.
Erdogan.
Yeah, Erdogan, yeah. So, and he likes, Netanyahu. He be breaking up. He done broke up with Musk. He done broke up with Putin. He done broke up, so his relationships, he breaking up. But what you say, Reverend, now about some of these people that should be coming out, seeing what he's doing. That's the bottom line.
No, I totally agree that if there's a iota of morality and not only morality but patriotism, since they claim to be that in them,
yes,
why aren't they coming out saying something? You know, Democrats have no problem, I among them, if there's something going on that we don't agree with, like some of us came out about the attack by Hamas and then came out when it was people starving in Gaza. Some Democrats didn't want us to come out. We don't mind taking positions. These guys have been radio silent, and it is scary. It is crazy. And I think that it is the height of immorality. I never thought I'd see the day, Antoine, where I would say that I missed John McCain. Because when it came down to conscience, John McCain came in sick and voted for the Affordable Care Act. Where are the John McCains of today that would say, no, I'm not a Democrat. I don't agree with some things, but this is wrong what this president is doing. Where are they?
Well, Rev, I'll take it a step further. I miss John Boehner and I miss Paul Ryan.
Right.
Because even though they were right-wingers, they were not compromisers on democracy. They believed in democracy and everything she stands for. So I miss them. But, you know, Republicans will not cave because they understand consolidated power. Power does not work in politics unless it's consolidated. And they benefit from Donald Trump and Trumpism having power. And I think that's the lesson we have to learn whenever we get the power gavel back. We should run the ball straight down the field, down their throats with everything we want to do, because that's what you do when you have power, and people will reward you for your aggression.
All
well,
right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jacob. Always good to hear your voice. Let me ask you. Let me ask you, Antoine, in terms of the threats that Governor Abbott is making on the Democrats that have, the Democratic legislators that have fled the state, and he made similar threats before and they didn't amount to anything. How do you see this playing out, and what can people do to support these legislators?
Well, Rev, I open up the show by saying what the folks down in Texas often say, the fact that I think the governors are all hat and no cattle. And I will continue to lean in on that, because what his tweet was, or his statement was based on an attorney general's opinion. Well, we all know an attorney general's opinion is not worth the paper it's printed on. And he is using one segment of that opinion to say that he will lock them up and he will fine them every single day. But that will not withstand any normal court because of the basis of an opinion. An attorney general opinion is just the opinion of one person. It's not a legal opinion. And so I think people just got to keep giving support. They got to keep giving monetary donations, because it's going to be a multi-million-dollar fight. And certainly it's not a fight that's going to be won overnight.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, see right. Hot Button Monday. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. We'll be right back. Stop going through your life like you are a co-star or a bit player in your own drama. No, you are the main star. You're the central figure in your life. What you decide is what is the major thrust of your life. And others may contribute, impact, affect, but it's your life that you're central in. So stop trying to lay the weight of what you do or don't do on others. That weight is squarely on your shoulders and in your hand. And if you want to defer and give your life choices to others, that's on you. If they have any sense at all, they will be so busy trying to conduct and properly guide their life, they will not have time to try to major in your life.
Of reference. 400 years later, it's time to do some assessing where we came from. While Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina, and Mississippi take the hits, the real trade market for commerce and cotton was New York, the port of New York. As a matter of fact, Joe, the first state to end slavery was Vermont. It was all the way up the coast. The big shipbuilders became rich off of our enslavement. Say our people are not slaves, they are our ancestors. They may be slaves of the person, but they're our ancestors, they're our foreparents. The money is made off of the commodity. We were the commodity in the commodity exchange. And they would import Africans. They export cotton and tobacco. And they built the whole economic system around Wall Street. Africans, because they feared the Indians would attack the Dutch, built a wall on Wall Street. That's why they named it Wall Street. It's the Africans with logs and trees. They built a wall around Wall Street, keep the Indians from attacking the Dutch. So Wall Street was named after us. There's a burial ground on Wall Street, which we should all visit. Those are our foreparents. At some point, they moved us to the other end of Manhattan, which is Harlem. So we are on the same island as Manhattan. Manhattan, Harlem, Wall Street, on the same island. Harlem is right down the road from Wall Street. That's interesting that most of our leaders who argued different cases never quite got to march on Wall Street.
That was Reverend Jesse Jackson speaking at National Action Network's House of Justice in 2020, saying that we'd ignored dramatizing, putting the spotlight on the economic inequalities, the economic issues of this country by never having marched on Wall Street en masse. Well, on August 28th, 5 years later, we're going to do just that. Because with this big, beautiful bill, which is a big, ugly bill that cuts Medicaid and SNAP, with the ending of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and initiatives in the private sector, which gives blacks and others jobs, contracts for businesses, making sure we make the C-suite based on our merit and not excluded because We didn't have the family background in a given place, whether it be academic or business. The people that benefited from that are the ones on Wall Street that deal with the stock markets, that deal with the Dow Jones, that deal with making trade off of the decisions of those that supported the Trump initiatives in this area. So we are not this year going to Washington on the anniversary of the March on Washington. On the anniversary of the March on Washington, we're going to Wall Street. And Reverend Jackson, we're going to do what you said. Thousands of us are going to nonviolently but firmly come and say that the dream cannot be deferred by tax cuts for the rich and cutting those out that need food assistance, that need support with health care and other economic policies that have choked the middle class and the poor. August 28, 2025, go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, get the details. Meet us 10 a.m. at the African Burial Ground and be ready to march. Buses are coming from all over the country. Go to that website or call 1-877-626-4651. No justice, no peace. Everywhere I go, whether it's in rallies and community gatherings or churches, on my radio show, people are saying the Democrats need to fight back. They're not standing hard on the issues. It's time to not let Trump continue to control the narrative. And that is what I'm raising tonight. Democrats need to stand up and fight back. And don't give an inch on the Epstein files. He promised his followers he'd come with the files. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I didn't know anything about farming. But my mother was from Alabama. She took my sister and I to see our grandmother once in Alabama. And as we walked around the little farm, she told me, I'll tell you something about farming. You see that pen of hogs over there? I said, yes, ma'am. She says, if you throw a brick in a pile of hogs, the one that hollers is the one you hit. Every day since this whole thing came up, I've been hearing hollering from Donald Trump. Something hit him. We need to see the files to see what it is. That does it for me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you back here next weekend at 5 p.m. Eastern. But first, you can catch me tomorrow, Monday, on Morning Joe, right here on MSNBC, starting at 6 a.m. Eastern. The weekend primetime starts at the top of the hour. real. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Let's go to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Antoine to Dolly. Dolly, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton and Antoine Seawright.
Thank you, Reverend Al, for taking my call.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions that maybe you and your listening audience can help me with. Over 40 years ago, Congress provided a lot of grants like the feeder money for minority. Then Congress voted and gave the white female a minority status. So my question is, did Congress rescind that minority status? Is the white female still a minority in America voting for Trump? And my other question is, over 20 years ago, Congress borrowed billions of dollars from the Social Security Fund the baby boomers generated. Have Congress put back those billions back in the Social Security Fund? These are questions that we need to discuss in both of them.
No, these are good questions. Antoine, let's start with the designation of women as a minority, and then whether the Social Security funds invested in by taxpayers, has that been placed in the right place?
Well, to answer your question, yes, the minority status continues as a woman, and I will also just make an editor's note to tell anyone that the biggest beneficiaries to diversity, equity, inclusion programs in this country have been white women. So that'll tell you a lot about kind of the minority status, if you will, when it comes to women. But as it relates to Social Security, I think the Treasury Secretary said the quiet part out loud. They wanted to do these baby bonds in order to do a back way of trying to privatize or start to privatize Social Security. So yes, today Social Security Fund is solvent, but they have campaigned on, and just like in Project 2025, where it talks about eliminating PBS, they talked about privatizing Social Security. So do not be surprised if they continue to extract, if you will, from the pages of Project 2025 with these various backdoor efforts to privatize Social Security or to change it as we know it, the same thing they've done with Medicare, Medicaid in its current form.
I think I think that answers it. I don't think anything I could add to. Dolly?
Okay, well, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you kindly.
Let's go to Tyrone in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Tyrone?
Well, peace and blessings, everyone. God be the glory. Rev, thank you first for taking my call. And Rev, I've been calling for the last 3-4 months and that couldn't get through. So I guess that's a good thing that, you know, folks want to share with you. But Rev, before I get to my statement about calmness, I just want to call out my sister named Paula Peoples, because I called the whole 4 hours on her birthday, because June the 27th was Paula Peoples' birthday, and I just wanted to call out her name because she has truly been a warrior for NAD and definitely been a warrior and a champion in Philadelphia. So thank you for allowing me to do that. Well, I think when we talk about our good sister, Miss Harris, one of the things the Honorable Harris, one of the things that I like to mention, I think it was a grave mistake that she did not run on their administration successors. The Biden-Trump, my Lord, the Biden-Harris administration had a lot of success, particularly when they spent the $1 trillion on rebuilding the highways and the byways all across the country.
Infrastructure.
And
yeah.
And I just, for whatever, whoever was mentioning or moving her in the direction she moved, I think it was a grave mistake that they just did not run on their successes. Because I believe had they ran on their successes, then folks wouldn't have looked at she trying to run away from Biden when she was part of Biden. So I just think that was a mistake. And then I also just want to say, my sister, please run. Because you have a opportunity to redo what you did. And I really believe that the folks who thought that this 47.5, that he was going to be the answer for the country when the country was doing very well under the Biden and Harris administration. And no one would ever thought, no one would ever believe, and no one would ever imagine that this individual would come in and disrupt the total flow of this country. We talk about the flow of government. We talk about the flow of the legal system. We talk about the flow of services. So all of you folks who thought that he was the answer, you see, now he's the problem. Thank you, Rev, for allowing me to share that.
All right, thank you for your call. I think that in terms of, again, and you can weigh in on this, Antoine, before we get into run, Kamala, run, we've got the midterm elections next year. I just was on text back and forth with the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, and we're going to be meeting on some stuff. And in fact, thank you for reminding me it was his birthday, because I could say that on the last text before I get off the air and my staff tell me. But anyway, I think that the races in 26, the races, as you said, Antoine, now we better focus on. And we've got time to talk about who's going to run in 28 and what went wrong in 24. But we got immediate problems, including these court challenges. We need to understand they are in the end zone trying to score. We don't have time to be huddling, talking about 2 years from now. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Everywhere I go, whether it's in rallies and community gatherings or churches. Good evening on my and radio welcome show to Politics Nation. Tonight's lead, Rigging the Game. For the last 7 months, Donald Trump has approached the presidency like it's an extension of his golf game, bending, even breaking the rules to gain an advantage. This week, he fired a top government economist for putting out a disappointing jobs numbers as he tries to deny his escalating trade wars are rattling the economy. And he's pushing Republican lawmakers to gerrymander state voting maps ahead of the midterms, desperately looking for ways to blunt the political backlash from his policies in the upcoming midterm elections. Meantime, just days before the 60th anniversary, the John Roberts Supreme Court appears poised to deal another blow to the Voting Rights Act in a case that will determine the future of 2 black majority congressional districts in Louisiana. We've got a big show for you tonight. Let's dive in. Joining me now is Congressman Lloyd Dogget, Democrat of Texas. Congressman, thank you for joining us. Starting the night in Texas, where, as expected, just hours ago, the Texas House Redistricting Committee approved a new congressional district map drawn up by Republican lawmakers that targets Democratic-held districts around 3 major cities and in the southern part of the state. The map is Texas Republicans' attempt to satisfy the president's desire to pick up 5 more GOP seats in Congress in next year's midterms. And we learned today that it could get a full vote in the State House next week. In your case, Congressman, the map pits you against another House progressive, Congressman Greg Kasich, who we had on the show earlier this month to talk about this issue. As Texas Democrats figure out how to respond, what's your reaction?
Well, thank you so much, Reverend Al. It is always good to be on your program because you really tell it like it is. And America needs to know that, because I think most Americans do not realize that Donald Trump has a plan to win next year's elections by doing it this year. And what he ordered Texas to do was to produce 5 Republicans to replace 5 Democrats. This is the beginning. It's not the end of his campaign to take control of the House, to maintain the control so he has a compliant House. The Texas legislature took a big step in that direction today, and they will probably finalize it on Tuesday. What the impact is very dramatic, particularly on communities of color. We currently have 4 members of the delegation who are African American. After this bill becomes law, we will have 2. My friend Mark Vesey from Fort Worth and Dallas, no district. The district that the late Sylvester Turner had combined with Al Green down in Houston. There's also a big impact on Hispanic districts like the one you mentioned with my neighbor and friend Greg Casar, also on Sylvia Garcia down in Houston, all using race, once again, as Donald Trump so often does in other contexts, all using race to achieve his objectives and deny those seats. We have to engage in extraordinary tactics in order to defeat this plan. You know the power very well yourself of the sit-in during the civil rights movement and then the labor movement. It may be what we need here is a sit-out where if nothing else will work, some of the members choose not to participate in this outrageous scheme to preserve Donald Trump's one-man rule.
Now, and I remember not long ago, not too many years ago, some of the legislators, state legislators, left the state to try to block some things. But staying with that, Congressman, as Democrats chart their path forward nationally, some have argued the party needs younger leaders. With that, there's been a debate in the party about whether you should be running against Congressman Kasich, which would happen if the redistricting ultimately goes through. What's your response? Is this about age or is this about agenda?
You know, I was one who called early for President Biden to step aside because I was concerned about his electability, not his age, about his ability to respond during the debate, not his good heart. But I think we need people of all generations. We certainly want to reach out and include more young people, but we don't believe in discrimination based on age. And everyone has an opportunity and should have an opportunity to participate in our party. I want to emphasize also that this is not, as big as Texas is, it's not just a Texas issue. And we're very pleased that Governor Newsom, for example, is looking at how changes can be made in California to offset the losses in Texas. Our Texas state legislators have been traveling around the country. There's some other states from Maryland to Washington state that could be a potential. I wish that all states had nonpartisan citizen rather than gerrymandering. But if it's going to be wrong in Texas, there has to be some action from other states to respond to that so that Trump doesn't gain from his own wrongdoing while everyone else is trying to play nice.
No, and I've heard Governor Newsom in California, Governor Hochul in New York, others are looking at that. Some Democrats we've heard from have cautioned that a redistricting in Texas would weaken the Voting Rights Act, and you brought up race. But it also appears to be in danger of being further gutted in Louisiana, where the U.S. Supreme Court has asked lawyers in a dispute over the state's congressional map whether Louisiana violated the 14th and 15th Amendments trying to adhere to VRA. If the state is found in violation, it could lead to it and other states being barred from considering race in drawing their maps according to a voter rights campaign or complaint. How big of a crisis is this, Congressman?
It's a big one. It's a
Keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. And, of course, the message board, you can go to the National Action Network, live stream, and post a message. And I think that it is important that we talk all of this out. Mayor Rodney Jones, by the way, mayor of Queensbridge Houses, says the question says that the American people voted for their own demise. Ignorance is bliss. I agree with that, Mr. Mayor. Let me remind you again, Politics Nation, every Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, MSNBC. And, of course, you that are in the New York area and vicinity, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally at the House of Justice, 145th Street and Lenox Avenue, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. every Saturday morning. I'll be there this Saturday looking for you. All roads lead to the march on Wall Street, August 28th. I can't emphasize enough the importance of you being there. There are buses leaving from everywhere. You can go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and sign in. We'll tell you if there's a bus leaving near you or give you the information if you're driving in. But we need to stand up to the Wall Street captains of industry saying you are getting the tax cuts, you're getting the money. We are here to put you on notice and your recipient of your support, and that's Mr. Trump. So make sure you go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, or you can call the toll-free number at 1-877-626-4651. Let's go to Ron in California, Antoine.
Hello, Reverend.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm calling. I've called before, but something keeps coming up in conversations that I don't see how clear it is. With the presidency and that group putting hardship on the people, specifically recently where his tax thing for anyone under $89,000, starting at the lower income from $300 a month to $300 a year to $1,500 a year in a new tax. and all the other things that he's been doing that basically affects the individual at a level that survival is important. Now, here is what came to me, and I know it's talked about, but I'd like to say it again. I think by looking at what he's doing, that is illogical in the sense of any kind of contribution or political advantage, that it is an ultimate plan, and this is conjecture, but I think it's relevant, that the plan overall, by design, is to disturb the population to the degree in events or anything where somebody reacts enough where he can create a situation basically to have martial law, and therefore all the elections will be mute, the courts will be mute, Congress will be mute, and he will therefore not even be concerned about running next time because he will be in place, and any kind of insurrection that he can focus on in the slightest and build up. Man, this man is a con man from day one, and he's got that in his mind. I think in the 2025, I think that issue is in there, and he's spoken about it himself. I remember him saying when he was running, hey, don't worry, you don't have to vote for me later on. I'll be president. And I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said. Sir, you're having a big event coming up. It's so important that riots don't take out from any situation. Don't give this man an excuse. And I don't understand why he hasn't been put forward to be impeached even now.
Well, I don't either. I don't either. But let me tell you something. I've been out here for decades. We never have violence out march. We have tighter security than people think, which is now in this particular march being also supported by the unions that are involved having security. We put 200,000 plus in Washington on the same date George Floyd protest at Lincoln Memorial in the pandemic, and didn't have any violence when there was violence going on around the country. So we are very particular about that because I think you're right. He would love to have that kind of violence so he can proclaim whatever he proclaims. Now, I wouldn't put it past him as you get closer to 28, because he could not call martial law now for an election 3 years from now. But you've got to be very, very suspect of anything that he will do because he's capable of doing anything. I do not dismiss what you're saying. Thank you for your call. I think one of the things, Antoine, is that, and you and I have talked about this often, but it bears repeating, that we all must understand our lanes. And the elected official has a lane, the lobbyists have a lane, the political strategists have a lane, we in civil rights have a lane. And if everybody operates in their lane, we make progress, because that's what they're doing. The people in the MAGA activists movement don't get in the way of those in the media MAGA movement, don't get in the way of those in the White House. We all critique each other rather than report to each other, this is what I'm doing. And this is how it advances us. So I don't expect Hakeem to call the march, lead the march. Doesn't even have to come, though knowing him, he might be there. And he don't expect me to be down in Washington undercutting whatever strategy he's got. And I think that the distinction of different people's roles or lanes, as I said, is important. Talk about that, Antoine.
Well, Red, one of my last conversations with John Lewis, the late, great John Lewis, was he said to me that the reason why the movement was so successful in his day is because everybody understood their role. And he used the example of the car. He said the tire stem is no more important than the engine, and the windshield wiper is just as important as the transmission, because if either one of those things are not operating at its maximum capacity, then the car can't get down the road the way it needs to in order to stay on the highway. And I think that's how we've got to look at all of our individual roles. And I say that to say because sometimes in my generation, the thought is if you're not doing the visible things out front, if you're not on TV, if you're not quoted in the paper, or if you're not on social media with millions of followers, you're not doing the work. And I think that's a false narrative. And so Sharpton has a role, C. Wright has a role, and when we all play those roles, that's how we always will yield success. But I will also say to that point, Reb, the reason why the movement was so successful in King Day and other days is because everything they did was pointed back to a greater mission, and that greater mission was the ballot box. We could have marched until the cows came home in the civil rights movement, but if we didn't have electoral power, we would have never got some of the things we've gotten in this country. So marching is good, posting on social media is good, but I think that's strengthening and conditioning for the big game. The big game is when we show up to vote on election day, whether it's a big election or a small election. And that's why I appreciate what you're doing to build the momentum in order to prepare us for November of this year.
Well, we must, and I emphasize must, stand up and fight on all cylinders because they're fighting us. And I think that the sooner and clearer we understand that, and you know, I think that they are a little bemused themselves that there's not more resistance. And I think that we must really, really do what we need to do. Let me read some of our posts. I didn't read a lot today. Letter writer says, thankful for Reverend Sharpton and former President Obama's early national warnings about gerrymandering by KK Klan over 4 years ago. Yeah, that's very true. We did warn it, and this is a playbook we're seeing again, and we need to be prepared for it. And that's, as I said, where I met Jasmine Crockett. In fact, Jasmine Crockett and I are scheduled to do a fireside chat at the Afro-American Cinema Festival in Martha's Vineyard, I think Friday. No, Thursday night. Friday in Chicago for the Eiffel Radov Institute. So I met her there. And I think that we really must support the legislators from Texas that are now in Illinois. Whatever they do, they try to find them, let's raise the money. They try to do whatever, because that's what we did when Jasmine and them were state legislators and stood up and fought back. This is a time that people's value, people's worth, Antoine, should be based on how much they can cooperate and unify, not how much they can raise the weakest point. And the weakest point, I mean, well, that strategy ain't gonna work or that ain't no good. We've got to do whatever we can because we are really under siege. There is no boundaries to what this man will try to do, named Donald Trump. Last weekend, he's attacking Oprah and Beyonce and me. This weekend, he's jumping on Charlamagne the God. He just, is scatter shooting anybody black that got any visibility. But it's all a smokescreen. So he can, while we reacting to all he attacked Red Mal, all he got on Charlamagne, they can change and gerrymander districts. That's what he wants you not to pay attention to. Let me thank Antoine Seawright with me the whole ride this week. I appreciate you, Antoine. Let me thank Antoine Seawright. Let me thank all of you that called in, listened in, you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. Talk to you tomorrow.